You see a glittering lake or a peaceful city park. Most folks never wonder what is buried underneath. But in America, progress often meant drowning entire black towns. Oscarville's churches and cemeteries still sit beneath the waves of Lake Lanier. Seneca Village was wiped off the map to make way for Central Park. This was not bad luck. This was by design. So what did it take for these places to vanish? And who decided that their land would be the price of public good? Who signed the papers? Who ordered the levees left alone? Who called it development? Let's unearth what survived the flood. Pay attention. This is a story you cannot unsee. Oscarville, Georgia, a place where black families once worked their own land, built their own homes, and filled churches with song. In 1912, that life ended with a knock in the night and the sound of gunfire. White mobs, night riders, swept through Forsyth County, burning houses, torching crops, shooting into windows. Folks ran for their lives, leaving deeds, photographs, and graves behind. Some did not make it out. The county's black population dropped from over 1,000 to near zero in a matter of weeks. Nobody paid for the land. Nobody paid for the lives lost. Decades passed. The land changed hands cheap. Then came the United States Army Corps of Engineers with blueprints and bulldozers. Beaufort Dam broke ground in the early 1950s, promising Atlanta a new water supply and flood control. Oscarville's remains, homes, churches, 2 black cemeteries stood in the way. Some bodies were dug up, most were not. By 1958, Lake Lanier swallowed what was left. The water covered everything. Old roads, sunken bridges, church foundations, and unmarked graves, buried twice, first by hatred, then by water. A descendant said it plain. They had to leave everything my grandfather had, 100 acres. They lost it all overnight. Now, Lake Lanier brings in billions. But ask around, and you will hear stories, drownings, restless spirits, a curse. Maybe it is just the weight of what is under the surface. Maybe it is history refusing to stay buried. Why does progress always need black land? New York City, 1825. Black families pooled savings and bought land on the edge of Manhattan, building Seneca Village, 3 churches, a school, a cemetery, and homes for 200 people. Free black men could vote here because they owned property. That was rare in America. Some Irish immigrants joined them, escaping poverty and violence downtown. They carved out peace where no one else wanted to live. Then the city's powerful men drew up new plans. Andrew Haswell Green and Egbert Ludlow Veal, city commissioners, saw these blocks as perfect for a grand public park. They called it progress. They called it necessary. In 1853, the Board of Aldermen voted to condemn the land. Eminent domain, paper law, did what fire and mobs could not. Surveyors marked out boundaries. Appraisers set prices so low, most families could not afford to buy anywhere else. Petitions for fair pay went straight into the trash. 4 years. That's all it took. By 1857, Seneca Village was gone. Bulldozers and demolition crews razed every house, every church, every grave. The city called it uninhabited in the records. Central Park opened on top, no marker, no memory. The blueprint was set. If black land stands in the way, the law will clear it. All nice and legal, all signed and sealed. No torches needed, just a signature and a shovel. Vanport, Oregon, built in a rush during World War II, it became the second largest city in the state almost overnight. 40,000 people, black, white, immigrant, packed into war housing along the Columbia River. By 1948, 1 in 3 residents was black. Jobs were steady, schools were full, but the levees holding back the river were thin and tired. People warned the city. They begged for repairs. Officials told them, no danger, stay put. Memorial Day 1948, the dike cracked at 2 in the afternoon. By evening, Vanport was underwater. 18,500 families lost everything in a single day. 50 people drowned. Most were black. Survivors carried only what they could grab. The city blamed the flood on panic, not neglect. Vanport was never rebuilt. Today, Delta Park sits on top. No sign, no marker, just grass and traffic. Down in Mississippi, the coast changed hands for tourism and highways. Black landowners around Graveline Bay watched their property seized for asphalt and beachfronts. Eminent domain papers arrived in the mail, or a knock at the door. Promises of fair compensation turned into pennies on the dollar. Communities scattered. No memorials, no reparations. The names faded from the map. Detroit's Black Bottom was drowned without a drop of water. Bulldozers and planners called it urban renewal. Highways like Interstate 375 cut through the heart of the neighborhood, flattening homes, churches, and businesses. 10,000 people were forced out and paid less than white neighbors. The city paved over black life for expressways and stadiums. 3 cities, 3 different tools: flood, eminent domain, concrete. The result was always the same: black communities erased, wealth stolen, memory paved under. Why does progress always need black land? 5 tools. That is how it is done. Each one has its own flavor, but all lead to the same result: black gone. First, violence. Night riders, torches, threats in the dark. If that does not clear the land, condemnation will. Eminent domain. Paperwork and signatures making theft look official. Sometimes it is neglect. Let the levees rot. Ignore the warnings. Wait for the river to finish the job. Other times, development is routed. Draw the line for a dam, a highway, a park, always through the heart of the black community. And when water is not handy, there is concrete. Highways and urban renewal, cutting neighborhoods in half, paving over homes and churches, calling it progress. 5 tools: violence, condemnation, neglect, development, highways. It does not matter which one they pick. The story ends the same. Black families out, wealth erased, history underwater or under asphalt. That is the blueprint. Once you know the pattern, you start seeing it everywhere. Why does progress always need black land? Nearly 1,000 reservoirs were built across the United States in the last century. Each project claimed to serve the public good. That phrase, stamped on government papers and echoed in city hall meetings, became a magic word. It turned black homes, churches, and burial grounds into obstacles. It turned family land into a line item. The language looked clean: flood control, recreation, progress. The reality was dirty. Black land, cheapened by violence or neglect, was chosen for submersion or bulldozing again and again. When the water rose, it did not just cover houses. It erased deeds. It erased history. It erased wealth built over generations. Once the lakes filled, the story flipped. What was lost became invisible, and what replaced it was sold as leisure: boating, fishing, luxury homes, summer rentals. White joy floating on top of black loss. The government called it necessary. The brochures called it paradise. But the price was always paid by someone else. That is how you bury a people's story without ever saying their name. Why does progress always need black land? Black land in America used to stretch for miles, over 14 million acres in black hands by 1910. Today, less than 2 million. That is more than 85% gone. Not lost by accident, not lost by nature, lost through schemes, signatures, and silence. Every time a lake covered a black town, every time a highway split a neighborhood, another piece of generational wealth vanished. You want to know why there is a 13-to-1 wealth gap between black and white families? Start counting the deeds that never made it home. Start counting the farms, the churches, the corner stores, all wiped off the map and replaced with water, concrete, or park grass. Descendants are still fighting. Oscarville's families push for markers and memorials. In Oregon, Vanport survivors file lawsuits demanding compensation for what was taken. Detroit's Black Bottom heirs just won a city settlement for stolen land. Reparations is not just a word. It is a movement growing louder every year. The lakes stay, the wounds stay, but so does the fight. If progress was built on buried black towns, what does justice look like now? Today, over 90% of black agricultural land is gone, swallowed by policy, not just water. Generational wealth doesn't vanish by accident. When lakes sparkle, ask what had to drown. Erasure isn't history. It's unfinished business. Drop your thoughts below if you're ready to name what's beneath the surface.